if someone has a brain injury, that's like strokes from a brain bleed or something that's caused trauma to the nervous system, there's going to be quite a sharp onset of some kind of symptoms, depending on what's affected. But someone might expect to have like their motor systems affected, so they might have muscle weakness coming from loss of neurological output. They might have cognitive changes if that part's been affected, so changes to memory or just cognitive processes and that kind of thing. Or sensory changes as well, so they might get kind of odd feelings in the body, numbness, or just complete loss of control of one area. Balance changes as well, very common. On the other hand, sorry, you go ahead.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because there's
Very
so
tricky.
many people typically assess what they can see.
Yep.
But there's so many changes that are invisible.
So many hidden symptoms, yeah.
Invisible symptoms, as they're typically called.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing how many different things and small things can start to change quite early on.
Yeah. And speaking of early on too, like if there's a whole other subcategory of diagnoses that, again, we'll dive into in the future, but other conditions that are called neurodegenerative conditions like multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, multiple system atrophy, these kinds of things, you get diagnosed on a bit of a timeline. So these are progressive conditions, meaning they typically worsen over time is their natural progression or their natural pattern. And so from the time you're diagnosed, you might have only noticed something like a bit of numbness or some fogginess, or a bit of fatigue. And then as time goes on, depending on where you are in that journey, more and more things can start to arise depending on the condition. So it can be quite tricky to know exactly how things are going to present.
So are there any other changes that you would expect would happen early on?
Yeah. A big one that I really like to explore is that often when people start to be hit with these like physical symptoms, so like things happening cognitively or physically in their body, alongside that, there's a big emotional response as well, and that's very normal. So people will start to feel like they'll have waves of feelings or thoughts of like, oh, this is my life now. I've got this injury or I've got this diagnosis that I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life. Maybe it might feel a bit, sometimes they say life feels over. I've had clients say that to me as well. And they just often, there's a sort of a sense of identity change as well. So internally they might feel like the exact same self. Of course, they are the same person, but people around them start to react differently. They'll kind of give them too much sympathy, and some people don't like that. And some people might have been very active in like a sporting person, or had very physical careers, which they can no longer do because of a physical change. Say they've lost control of a whole one side of their body because of a stroke. And that can feel very disheartening, like they've lost a sense of who they are, their whole plan of where they were going in life, and it can be a big disruption. And I just want to say that these feelings are completely normal.
Yeah.
And so it's important not to beat yourself up about that. Or some people might say like, no, you can carry on, you'll be right, just have to keep on pushing. And sometimes that can feel a bit too confronting earlier, though, while you're still processing these feelings that are very normal and important to process in a healthy way for you.
Yeah.
It can feel like there's a big external pressure sometimes.
Can you just expand a little bit more on that, on is life over after a diagnosis?
Absolutely. So, of course, just off the bat, do want to acknowledge that it is easy to say all these things from our position of as like therapist-minded therapists who don't have neurological conditions ourselves. But speaking to the evidence, at least, and my experiences with clients, and I know Sam's as well, is that no, life definitely isn't over. And I think that's a really important piece of the puzzle for a lot of people, and to try and incorporate this into your mindset. But breaking into the two branches, I suppose, is for brain injuries like strokes or traumatic brain injuries. At first is where the symptoms are going to be, in general, the worst. You've just had a part of your brain essentially die off, and there's going to be a whole lot of adjustment to that. But the brain's an amazing thing. It still has the ability to repair itself. And so you'll often hear about this critical window at the beginning, where the first 6 months after your brain injury, rehab is such an important thing because you can get so many of those symptoms back. Even I've seen people who've lost the entire control of one side of their body, lost vision, can't lift their hand whatsoever, no muscles even flickering really, and legs, same story, nothing's happening. put in a ton of hard yards, put in a lot of hard work and rehab with good support from their team, and then gradually it starts to come back.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, I've unfortunately met a lot of people who have had injuries years in the past, didn't get any help or not very good help in that critical window. And it used to be the mindset of therapists as well, and the evidence that nothing could be done. It sort of is what it is at that point. And while there are some things that get like that, like if a muscle gets really stiff and it's hard to stretch out, that can be hard to change later on. But even still, a lot of research now shows that even months past the 6-month mark, years down the track, if you put a lot of novel, hard exercises in place that really challenge the brain to start to rewire itself through this thing called neuroplasticity, which we'll discuss more in the future, a lot of benefit can come out of that.
Again, this isn't from our own lived experience. This is purely based on us going through it with other people.
Yeah.
But I think that also gives us a unique view to let people know that I've watched people go through the heartache of diagnosis, and then I've watched them go through, learn a bit of processing, some grieving, some educating and some understanding, to then coming back to their usual life because they've got started with a few things and they have had, yes, they've had some symptoms come on and change, but they've maintained the exact same quality of life as before.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can imagine that in that very beginning window, it would feel so isolating because it feels like, you know, that you're alone in that journey. But I think we're in a lucky position to be able to say that it hasn't been us, but we can share our experience of watching other people go through it to say that this process does have an endpoint of which you start to feel a little bit more in control of your own life.
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, just quickly, could you please double check you've hit that subscribe button because it is the best way of supporting the show.
And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that bell icon as well so YouTube will notify you when we have our new episodes out every week.